Welcome to the One Zen Academy Fitness Podcast. Everything health, wellness, fitness and performance all under one roof. My name's Kieran. I've got over 15 years worth of experience within personal training, health, wellness and sports rehabilitation. For more information, go to www.onezenacademy.com. Thank you. Today's guest is none other than Parez, ex-professional ice hockey player and lead strength and conditioning coach for Liberec's ice hockey team in the Czech Republic. He has a very unique way of looking at things. He is, like I said, an ex-professional ice hockey player. He grew up in Prague, then spent a lot of time in the USA under a scholarship, playing professional ice hockey, and in England. And he brought all of the life experience he gained back to the Czech Republic. Initially, he went to America when he was 14. Decided to stay there for 12 years before moving back to Eastern Europe. He, in his own words, says he made a pit stop in England for 8 years, and that's where I met him. And this gave him priceless and amazing experiences. Performance and health and wellness were always his interests and became his passion over a long period of time as he battled with his own physical injuries. He now works with top athletes looking to maximize their performance, minimize injuries, and improve their well-being. He is the Czech Institute qualified professional, and he brings all of his experience onto our podcast today. Mr. Parez.
It's a little bit unusual because growing up in Eastern Europe here in the Czech Republic, in the 80s and 90s was right after communism, so I was one of the first people a chance to go to America and actually live there, not just visit but live there.
Yeah.
I decided to do that. I had a chance to go for a scholarship and I just left the country, and I ended up in America and private school, which was out of my league a little bit, but I learned a lot, and I stayed there for a while, and I basically grew up there. So I realized that people think differently. I stayed at different families, so I had a different viewpoint of the elders, if you want to say it that way.
Yeah.
So I started to formulate my own little, what is true and what is not true, because a lot of people who grow up with only, if you say it that way, parents.
Yes,
That's just one couple. They just get their ideas and they think that's the right way to do it, and sometimes it might not be. So this opened my eyes a little bit very early, and then I went to college in America because that's what everybody does, and there's a lot of sports, and I wanted to play ice hockey. I wanted to make it to the NHL, so I had a scholarship, and I decided to go, and I said, if I can't play, if I can't make it, I'll have education, which is, again, unusual for here. So I did that, but I was injured all the time. Every year I had an injury. I had 6 surgeries, and I had all sorts of, hockey-related traumas. So I started looking into it, started talking to people who know anything about health. I started reading. I went on courses, and I was really looking into it, what I can do to make myself a better athlete and healthier person. So I just basically started looking into it myself, and then I went to England again. I played in England, which is not really it's a league that's moving up, but it's not really a league where you're gonna move on to somewhere. So it's maybe for older guys to just finish their career and don't have to travel much. But it's improving. The league is good. So I knew that was basically the end of the road as far as hockey. And again I was injured. So then I went to a course. I ended up going to a course with Dan Hellman from the Czech Institute in London, because I had problems with my shoulders, and all physios were telling me all sorts of things. Everybody was saying different things. So I ended up going to that day course, just paid for a day course, and that was my first scientific shoulder training course in London.
Nice.
And that really opened up my eyes, because I started to connect things, and I was afraid of saturated fat like everybody else in America was at the same time.
Yeah.
So I was just doing what everybody else was doing, and I wasn't healing. So I realized that I started to wonder, what else don't I know?
Yeah.
What else is there that I don't know? So I ended up studying and working with Paul and looking at the psychology of everything, and why do I do the things that I do, and why is these things happening to me, and how can I recover, how can I train better. And I ended up basically getting a job here in the Czech Republic with a team that was struggling but they weren't that good for years.
Yeah.
And we have a fresh young coach there with new ideas, and he really supported the things that I do. So he let me work with the athletes as a strength and conditioning guy. And he let me kind of do my thing, which is very unusual here, because the coach normally but he basically adjusts the practices and the off ice as he feels is good, even though he might not understand it. So, I got the green light, and we had a combination of good staff and good team and support from the owners, and we won the league, and that, that basically took off from there, because we started doing really well every year, and people are starting to notice it. So I try to work with the athletes, and at the same time, when I have success here, the other athletes that might not play on the team, they might play in America, they might just live here.
Yeah.
They might live in Prague and in the summer, and then they go to America. They started to come on board, and we train and eat and talk about stuff, and we go out a little bit, just to basically help them out overall, because it's a big journey, and I've been to America, and I lived there for many years, so we have lots of things to talk about, because they're young, they're 20 years old, and they want to talk about stuff. How does it work there, and what do I do there, and how do you say this in English, and things like that. So we have things to talk about, so they like it as well. I'm not just a trainer who hasn't been abroad, because they want, I think they want that experience as well.
You've lived it, haven't you? You've been there. You've kind of gone through it when it wasn't a thing. So I guess for you, it's a lot more, raw and kind of, it was like the untrodden path, wasn't it? I mean,
exactly. I had a unique chance to go, and now when I get back, I have these, experiences that are, priceless. Yeah. And that's what it's about, because you have to live somewhere to really get to know the country, because I speak to a lot of people here who have never been anywhere, and they have they think everybody frowns in England and it always rains.
It's partly true.
Partly true, but not all the way.
Wow.
So they think, people here think, America's people shoot each other everywhere, and when you go there, people don't even lock their doors in some parts of the States. There's bad parts everywhere. So people have this TV mindset, and what they see on TV think is the reality. So I personally, I went from 2 channels when I was a boy here. When I was 4 years old, we had 2 or 3 channels. It was black and white. Then I went to America. It was it was starting to boom. So there was about 50 channels there. Then I went to England. I got Sky TV. There was 350 channels, and then I just turned it all off. So.
It's
I don't really watch too much of it. I just look for the things that I'm interested in, and it can manipulate you a little bit, because there's you spend a lot of time on it. It's like a phone. The TV is it's like a big phone that you just look into it. People, they're like, why are you looking at this phone all the time? Why are you always looking at phone? But then they go and watch TV for 2 hours. It's like, it's the same thing. You're just sitting in front of a screen and experiencing somebody else's experience, and you don't live your thing. So
no, it's a good point, because TV used to be that medium that kind of told stories, and now I guess it's more of, you know, with like especially reality TV, it's like junk food for the brain. It's that kind of, you know, just absolute, it's garbage that we're trying to fill ourselves up or maybe detract away from things. But
and there's commercials, there's TV commercials. I mean, I see food, which is processed food, and I see medicine like pills, like food that hurts you, and then try to treat it with the pills, and it's just, most of the commercials are based around that, and you know, it's really taken over. They want you to, I mean, they advertise food because they want you to believe, you know, believe that it's good. If you believe, then you buy. So if you believe that margarine is good for you, then you go and buy it. You know, my grandma used to eat that, you know, tons of that. Because she thought it was good, or the TV said that, or a newspaper said that, or some scientist.
Yeah.
Who knows who's been paid by said it, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely. So you train a few NHL players now, is that right?
In the summer.
Yeah.
Exactly. In the summer, there's a lot of players who do play. Well, not as much as there used to be, but there's a few players who play in the NHL now, who are from the Czech Republic, and they live in Prague. They're either from here, or they just like the city, and they like the rinks, and they want to skate in the summer a little bit. Yeah. So I've been working with some of those for last, 3, 4, 5 years, and they're just basically moved up to the NHL. So we stayed together, and we worked on things they need to work on. So there's a couple guys who last year won the Stanley Cup with the Washington Capitals. So that's great to be part of their little team, which is, a huge achievement in the hockey world. So I got to celebrate with a cup a little bit here, which is very unusual because it's only been here a couple times. Wow. But the players are, they say, I have a guy who played for the Chicago Blackhawks, and he was saying, hey, we have team meals and we have all organic stuff, and people take good supplements, and people read. There's players who, like, top players on the team, they like educate themselves about nutrition. They don't just play hockey. They're actually people who never went to college, maybe. But they study about nutrition in their free time. What else are you gonna do? I mean, you can only be at the rink in the NHL for 3 hours. Right. I mean, including everything, meetings, gym, or off ice. You can rehab, all sorts of stuff. You can be there. You can only be there for 3 hours. It's not like Russia. Russia. If they don't like you on the team in the KHL, and they want you to basically leave the contract, so that you decide to leave, they'll just skate you for 7 hours a day, just up and down the rink, and just drill you till you just actually up 2 weeks. You just say, hey, I'm done. I'm finished. I want to break my contract. So this is what happens there sometimes, So in the NHL, you can't really do that to somebody anymore. Yeah. I don't know if they probably never did, but Russia has a different story. I hear all sorts of stories from my players, because some of the players play in Russia, and it's, you have a big contract, and they might not like you, the coaching staff. They will make it hell, a physical hell for you for 2 weeks until you quit. They really didn't kick you out. You want to leave, so As their strength and conditioning, the way they do strength and conditioning changed much? Because I remember when I last visited you at Liberec, there was a bunch of Russian players there, and they were doing some what they consider strength and conditioning stuff. Is it? Yes. The Russian teams come into the Czech Republic sometimes in the summer, and they use our facilities to train and have this like a 2-week intense. We used to have this too, but we kind of got away from that. But it was just 2 weeks of intense training. You'd be doing things 4 times a day, and they think the more, the old school says, the more you train, the fitter you're gonna be. But there's no really science behind it. It's just hard work and mentally draining. If you have, I mean, the players from the Czech Republic, for example, who play in Russia, and they're used to good loads, good volume of training, short, intense workouts. If you get used to that, and then you go to Russia and you want to play for a team there, and you're 25 or 30 years old, and they pull out these crazy workouts, you have to start cheating. So you have to save yourself somewhere when somebody's not looking. You just have to save yourself. If you are that, honest, hardworking mentality guy, which is what you want really on the team. If you're that guy and you get that much training to do in the day, you're just gonna get hurt. You're gonna get exhausted. You're gonna get sick. You're just you won't be able to last. And they don't care. They have millions of people there. They just replace you. It's like you're just an economic unit that hits the fuck around, So they don't really care. So you tear your ACL, in November, and you're just done for the rest of the season because you're just so overtrained. So people have to. The people that want to survive that, you have to learn when to train hard and when to just do it easy, which is not the right way to have half of the team,
So how did you change the training for your current team to what they were doing? How was it different?
Well, the history throughout this country was, a lot of endurance because the hockey season is long. That was the main point. We want to do endurance because the season is long. And, as far as strength and conditioning and periodization of training, this is nonsense. Right? It doesn't. The game is short. You're on the ice for 15 minutes out of 2.5 hours. You're actually doing something for 15 minutes or maximum 25 minutes. Some guys, So it's not, and it's intense. It's always intervals, and they do the ice for 15 minutes. I mean, you sit around for 15 minutes. So you have 2 breaks where they do the ice, so you have rest. You want to have rest so you can go again hard. So we've gotten away from the endurance training, go on the bike for 2 hours and just go in the mountains and just pedal slow. And they used to do that because the mountains are right in the city. And they, long distance. I mean, there's people here, not on this team, but in this league, who had a summer off ice training, and they all went on a bicycle the whole time, and then somebody got hit by the car and killed.
Oh, jeez.
In like their off season. This is ridiculous.
Wow.
And it's happened. It's happened before, It's happened, and I look at it, it's like, wow, what is this? This is dangerous stuff. This is dangerous. So I try to make it as safe as we can. So we are, in a gym that's being upgraded every year, and we try to work on the big things. Again, if you look into the basics: pushing, pulling, squatting, bending, sprinting, twisting, because that's what hockey is all about. You need to be strong. You need to be fast. You need to do the first, 3 steps. Everybody, and if young guys come up to me, they're parents of young kids, in the Czech Republic, and they want to have a consultation, they want to chat about stuff, or come and see me for a couple hours just to give their kid a decent advice. Then, they say, how can I make, I need leg strength, and I need the first 3 steps to be just better. And I say, hey, how many repetitions is first 3 steps? You tell me, how many reps is that? You know,
Yeah.
It's 3 reps. You know, so it's low reps. You know, it's a low reps. You need to put some weight on it in the long run to have some strength, because that's what it is. The hamstrings and your butt and your low back have to be strong on low reps. You know, I mean that's basics. This is basics in America, in American football, which most of my education comes from, you know, or strength and conditioning education comes from, you know, training American football players. Where you have, you know, the max, you know, the average time something happens in American football is 6 seconds. You know, so you don't even need to breathe that much. You know,
of course. Well, it's all creatine, phosphate, you know, short explosive. You know, maybe in ice hockey you get more into the lactate stuff, but I guess you only touch upon it, don't you? It's how long do you stay on the ice for?
Exactly. On the ice, I mean, players, if you look at NHL, you get some of the top players, they might be there for 40 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, 37, 40, 50. I mean, nobody's there for over a minute usually, unless you get stuck in the zone and they just circle around you, and and by then you're not skating anywhere. Everybody's crowded around the net, and you're just treading water, and you're just so out of breath, and you make stupid decisions because the brain is so tired. So you start, you know, saving the energy, because sometimes the other unit, you know, that's playing against you, they might change, you know, while you're in the zone, and you don't get the change. So they might have fresh guys with fresh legs on you, and you're just happy to just stay around and protect the net. So you can tell when the players are on the ice, you know, 2 minutes, which is a lot. You know, then they don't skate anywhere. You can't skate. The legs burn so much you can't skate. So we need to understand that, you know, under a minute that's where most of the things happen. You know.
Nice.
But we try to train that way. We prepare in that way. We do intervals that way, or we have a set that might take 45 seconds. You know.
Yeah.
It might be a slow lift, but it might take 45. You might do 12 reps on bench press. It might take 45 seconds. They'll build a bit of muscle, and it might take 45 seconds if you do it slowly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I noticed when I was there visiting you last was how strong the guys actually are. I mean, they were squatting, you know, various amounts, but you know they were really going for it, you know, straight after the ice as well, and they're really strong.
Exactly. I mean, they're used to lifting. They're used to lifting all sorts of ways since they were kids. It might be a circuit training. It might be something. So they're used to being on the ice and having some strength in the legs. And the thing is that even today, you know, some guys are afraid to lift heavy. There's a lot of fear. I fear that they're afraid. They think they're going to hurt themselves. The thing is, if you do it correctly, and, you know, it's all safe in the gym. Nobody pushes you around. You're not on a, you know, unstable surface. You're not on skates. You're not out of breath and tired at the end of the shift. So it's very, you know, if you're going to do a deadlift or sumo deadlift, it's a very controlled environment. Nothing moves around, you know. So I consider that safe. I mean, nobody got hurt in the gym yet in 4 years. Nobody really like hurt themselves or blew a disc or somebody. You know, people get hurt on the ice.
Yeah, of course.
Because things happen in speed. So I consider it safe. And some guys, you know, understand that they need strength to be fast. Some guys, you know, it's very hard to work with a team like this because some guys they think they have to lift heavy. They think they have to lift fast to be fast.
Okay, yeah.
So they're afraid of lifting slow.
Yeah.
Because they think they're going to be slow, and you tell them to slow down. They want to lift fast because mentally they think they're going to be fast. But for example, hamstring strength, you know, it doesn't have to be fat. You need to have it strong, and even slow strong makes it stronger and faster. Yeah. But they just don't want to hear that. They want to do this. and they do it for 10, 15 years, and they might have played in the NHL, and they think it's that way. But in general, there's, very hardworking guys. Most of the guys have good attitude, and they want to train. It's just, I am there at a point where sometimes I need to just let them do their thing and make sure they don't go against themselves.
Yeah.
So explain why is it hurting themselves if they do this. And sometimes, you just kind of help them when they need it. So they ask question, hey, should I do this many reps or that many reps, or what should I do today? So it's more about a consultation, but they want to pick their exercise sometimes, and we just adjust it. So with a pro team like this, it's very unique, because people played everywhere, all around the world sometimes, and they have different coaches and different opinions and different ideas of lifting. So having one rigid view doesn't really work. You have to be very flexible when working with the team.
Okay.
Very flexible.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess that follows on, I guess, what I was thinking. What are the kind of key principles you use when training the team or one-to-one clients? I mean, you kind of alluded to keeping it simple, maybe allowing some flexibility during, but do you have like some guiding principles that you kind of take maybe with the team, maybe or with one-to-one clients, and maybe with yourself?
It's with a team, working with a pro team, you have to understand that they'll have their opinion on things.
Yeah.
And I need to have a solid way of doing things. So I can't be changing my opinion or changing the way we do things all the time, because then it looks like I'm unsure what I'm doing. So I have a rigid base, which is basically around it is a little bit flexy. So I don't go in and change everything, and today we're going to do tabatas, and today we're going to do this. It doesn't work like that. It has to be a solid base. And then they feel, I believe in something, I stand for something, and that's the way it is. And if the team or if the coaches don't like that, I mean, that's tough. I'm probably not going to work there,
Yeah.
So I've tried to come into the team that way, because I feel like I know what I'm doing, and I'm learning all the time, and I'm moving it forward. But I can't be too rigid. And if there is criticism, or if there is kind of especially if the team is not doing well, then you're gonna start blaming, two people. You're gonna start blaming the strength and conditioning coach, and you're gonna start blaming the goalies.
Yeah.
So since we're winning, people are fairly happy, and obviously the players that don't play much, they might not feel their things are going well, so they might be complaining a little bit about everything, not just training. It might be complaining about food. It might be complaining about the coaches that they don't play them. Never look into themselves, but they always look around for blame. So I need to be like a duck, the duck. The duck works. You know how that little saying. You just have to not let any water
get the duck's back.
Yeah, you have to kind of just be a duck. I just go in the gym. I'm a duck. Hey, I have my system. I can help you if you want. Do your thing. Make sure you feel good. Make sure you don't, feel tired. Make sure you're hungry for the game. If you're not hungry, if you don't sleep, if you don't poop, if you don't, if you have bad acne or something, come to me and we'll have a chat about it. We'll talk about dairy. We'll talk about things. We'll talk about sleep. We'll talk about sex if you need to have some, talk about, because we can talk about all sorts of stuff, and it has to do with your psyche. You might not be happy outside of the rink, and that's just reflecting on you. So we can talk about all sorts of stuff. So I have to be more of as this is what I like from Paul Czech. It's the 50% of my work is your science, your reps and sets and tempos, and when to do this exercise, and how many pull-ups, and how do I do this in the gym. And then 50% is the art, is the character and and the way you talk to people and the way you make them feel and the way you feel what they need that day. You know, somebody comes up and starts complaining, or a client starts complaining, and you got this amazing program ready for them, and then they just say, I'm so tired, I didn't sleep, and this kid's, and they say, you know what, we're gonna do some exercises, to bring your energy up. You look tired, and I don't want to drain you. And that was a big thing here. I started to promote, publicly promote in the newspaper, because we were winning, and people are asking, how do we do it? So I said, hey, the coaches are good, the video guys are good, all good, but strength and conditioning is solid. From my side, I think I'm doing my job well. And they asked, how do we do this? And I said, hey, we don't drain the players. I want to have a hungry player for the weekend. I don't want to have because I used to be, when I played, we used to skate for 2.5 hours, and I was so tired. Wow. I did it all 100%, and I was so tired, and I was so injured every year. And I was like, wow, because I was so trying to do what the coach said, and I wasn't really thinking of what it's doing to my body, because that's what nobody does that at 20 years old. Nobody cares about that. They just say, the coach said this, we're going to do this like a machine, So you can't even complain. You can't do it. That could kick you off the team. You can't resist. Like in the army, you can't say things. So you can't wear your shirt differently. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. So I started to not to drain them, and I started promoting this. Hey, we train hard, but we rest harder. Just a simple thing. Or we could say, train hard and go home. And not stay here all day.
Well, it's that train, don't drain. It's I guess I love the fact that, I guess if you look around the world, you look at the top, I guess, sports teams, and you look at the strength and conditioning and such, it's very much my way, the highway scenario. But I love the fact that you really kind of take more of a, where possible, a personal approach to the team. And I think it makes sense, because you're equally as invested in that team as anyone else, and that's definitely reflected in the results. I mean, let's face it, they're a ridiculously strong team, but they're, I guess from when I look on Instagram or when I look on social media and I see the pictures of you and the team and what you're doing, okay, it looks more like a family. Where you sit down with your family, you have meals, and you do all these other activities around your main, I guess, job role, and that's what I see. And the players look happy. I mean, let's face it. I mean, they do.
That's what we try to do, and that all comes from the management of the club. I mean, the manager of the club, the owner of the club, sends down some information to the head coach, who's a young guy who's been to Canada, went to school there, played hockey there a little bit, learned how it can be different, and so they wanna kind of, this attitude is promoting the team and having success. And people, I mean, we're sold out for first 2 home games in the playoffs, which is, hasn't happened. It hasn't happened, in years. It hasn't even happened when we're winning the league. So we are, moving up, and sponsors are all kind of, happy to put their money in, because a lot of the sport here is based on sponsorship. So if they see people come in, and if they see a good attitude, they have fun. They have fun commercials. During the game, they use players' names. They use players' names. Sometimes a name means something, So they basically use the player's name and use it to, like, promote the team. The goalie coach is called, his name is Love.
Right, okay.
And they just say, we play hockey with love. They just put it, and they just put it on billboard, and it's like, we really do.
Nice. Okay, good.
So they use my name too, but it's kind of a funny one. See, my name Parez, it means stump, in Czech. So stump.
How did I not know that?
They use that. They used my name and then promote it. They say, they say don't sit, because in Czech we say this, don't sit like a stump. It's like just don't just sit around and do nothing. You know, so they say don't sit like a stump and start cheering or something. You know, they'll just put it on the square on a big TV in front of all the people, and then they sometimes make video. They made videos of me yesterday, sitting around. I go to the gym and people are training and I just sit. And I go into the rink and I just sit. People ask me questions. Hey, how do I do this exercise? I do it right. I just sit there. I don't respond like a stump.
Yeah. Oh, I can't believe I didn't know that. And now I can't stop thinking about calling you Stumpy.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that the stump has the roots, you know?
Yeah.
And I stick to the roots.
Nice.
I stick to the basics, and I try to find the root cause of things. So,
like it.
Yeah, so it's all in there. It's all in there somehow. I don't know. It's always been there. You know, when I was a little guy, you know, in like primary school, people made fun of me. Not fun of me, but it was more of a funny name.
Yeah,
you know?
Okay.
But now I just turn it around to my advantage. Like, hey, you know, I work on the roots, on the basics, so you can have a nice tree. I can help you because I know all about the trees. You know, I am the basic guy. Yeah.
Nice, I love it. So I guess because this is following quite a logical progression with my, I guess, thought process is recovery strategies. So we've kind of mentioned, we've kind of alluded to kind of the, I guess, the wellness of the team. But what would you say are your best recovery strategies? Maybe not just for the team, maybe clients, maybe yourself. I mean, there's that. For those of you listening, there's a Al jumping in or getting into an ice cold lake, and he is naked. If anyone wants to see that on social media. So what other recovery strategies have you got?
Yeah. I mean, cold is good. Cold is good. I've been trying to expose myself daily to some kind of a cold. I have a daily cold exposure routine, if I could say it that way.
Yeah, me too.
Which really works. I think I feel great after. There's a lot of things that happen while you're in there. When you're in there long enough, good things happen, and when you get out, you feel good. So there's a lot of healthy things that I'm trying to work on myself. Another thing is that I really think is good is Pure Athlete Products, which is an Irish company.
Right.
Guy who used to play rugby and work with, you know, the Australians and I think New Zealand, I think the All Blacks too. And I went to a big conference in England one time. Yeah. And the guy was speaking there from Pure Athlete, and I really thought, you know, hey, this guy means, you know, health. He was referring to Paul Czech because he studied with him a bit, so he was on the same page. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna try to see if these things are good. And I've been getting, you know, massage oils, recovery massage oils from him. I've been getting Epsom sea salts, but they're good. They're not cheap ones. They're quality. They smell good. They cost a bit. They cost a bit more than the cheap stuff, but they work. I mean, the players use them. There's a lot of players who use them day before a game, 2 days before a game. NHL players use them. So I've been using that. So that's the massage oils, Epsom sea salts. I've been using gray sea salt for minerals, you know, out of the ocean. I mean, you don't even buy that here. You can't even go to to special food store. You can't go and buy that. Wow. So I have to get it from friends, and, you know, I promote it. I put it on those steaks when we grill. I think it's great, you know, have a mix. Everybody has, you know, like the pink sea salt, Himalayan salt. But, you know, that's from a rock. I mean, minerals from the sea are different. So if you change it up, you know, if you have a mix of just get some different minerals. I mean, there's so many minerals and trace minerals in the water. And if the sea salt is white, I mean, lost all those minerals. So when you go to a restaurant or anywhere, nobody gives you unprocessed sea salt, unless you drive. I went to Austria. I went down to the lakes in the summer to see the beautiful lakes, and I stopped at a petrol station in Austria. They have nice, like a rest stop. They're nice. There's like good foods, and there's salads and olives and all sorts of stuff. They like their food. Much better than here, I would say, as far as petrol station quality food. And they had this salt on the table. I was gonna salt my food, and it was like gray sea salt from like some France or something, And it was in there. It was in the shaker in Austria on a petrol station. Dude. And I was like, wow, like this is. You can't even buy this. You drive 2 hours north, and you can't even buy it in the store. So
nice. Sorry to backtrack, just for the benefit of anyone who's listening, normal white table salt is just pure sodium, whereas grey sea salt, which I too have in all my drinks and such, has chloride, potassium, calcium, magnesium, copper, zinc. It has all the elements that your body needs, that you will lose during urine, sweat, but you need for all the basic processes of the body. Just to make that clear, because I think a lot of people still don't know the difference between the refined rubbish table salt and the actual grey sea salt, and I think it's just useful to point out.
Exactly it. So you have the rubbish salt, sodium chloride, which is raises your blood pressure and kills you. Which is not natural. You can't find it anywhere. You can't just go look for it. Most of the salt in the world is produced for manufacturing, salting, all sorts of chemical processes for making stuff and salting the roads and all sorts of things they do with it. So only a small fraction of salt actually produces eaten. So when you can have this cheap salt, then you can have this, the sea salt, like in the store you can go buy sea salt and it can be flakes, but it's white, and that's already been processed. The minerals have been, chemically pulled out of that and then sold to you another way, at a GNC or a Holland Barrett's as a supplement. So you get this magnesium supplements, and so they sell you the salt. They make money on it twice. And I say I might as well get the real thing and get the unprocessed salt. And I've trained in England when I worked in the gym. We worked together in the gym. I've trained, some clients who the lady was, she was 55 years old, and she was from Africa, and she grew up in Africa and lived in England last 15 years or whatever. And she's brought me this, I was talking about gray sea salt, and because she was low on energy and all this, and I was saying, hey, just try using that with your food a little bit, maybe put it a little bit in your water so you don't taste it. And she went back home, and she's like, she brought me a bag of gray sea salt from Africa, and it was flakes. It was huge flakes. I've never seen anything like that. And she said, this is what we use there. This is our salt. This is normal. And I say, hey, this is so. I'm not saying Africa's behind or anything, but I'm just saying this is so like old school that it's actually still good for you. I say, if you use that, happy days. And I was using that. It was even better than what I was getting from Parez. It was just bigger flakes, and I had to break it up to even eat it. So this is another thing I use. And then obviously for recovery, sleep. You need to get the good sleep, and before the midnight sleep, and the power naps and all sorts of stuff. People are starting to use melatonin sprays before you go to bed to just have a better sleep and things like that. So I like recovery. I think it's huge, and it's easier to recover when you don't overtrain. So just that we don't train hard. it helps me, because if they eat decently, if they go to bed and drink some water, you're doing the basics. Because even if you had the magic supplements and you're training 7 hours a day, you can't recover. Even if you had magic pills, it wouldn't work.
Yeah. So does the rest of the team and stuff, do they do like cold therapy and things like that?
There is, guys, we have a cold tub in the locker room, and guys go in there. You know, the coach goes in there, which is good. The head coach does it with us. You know, he'll have a barbecue, and
nice.
They'll go on a team function. And so when a lot of the players, I notice they, you know, you can talk all you want, you know, talking, but if you do stuff, if I just bring good food and eat it myself, they, you know, some people might criticize that, be like, you know, like they because it's so healthy compared to what they used to eating. They might criticize it, but you know, I'm a duck, you know, so it doesn't affect me. But you know, if the coach does it with us, you know, if he goes in the cold tub, he goes in the sauna. I'm not a big fan of sauna after you train or after you skate. You know? But the mentality, the public mentality is, you know, go to the gym and the sauna is there, so use it because I paid for it. But you know, in the sauna, you know, you just tore your muscles apart with the weights, and you're just gonna increase, you know, inflammation. You're just gonna, the heat expands things, so the cells are broken, and you're gonna break them more. You're gonna have a longer time recovering. That's what you're gonna do if you lift weights and go to sauna. It just takes longer to get back together. But somehow, again, if I wanted to push it hardcore and not allow it in the locker room, then I would be going against myself, because it always kind of turns back onto you, you know? So that's what I noticed in the team. If you gotta watch out what you say, because I don't really believe in it, and I'll talk to him about it, but I don't go there as a policeman and try to say, hey, you know, you just had a workout, don't go right in the sauna, go in the afternoon, or go later, go the next day, you know? So
okay. How long do you spend in the cold tub, or when you're doing your naked swims?
If I take a cold shower, I'm in there for about minimum 3 minutes.
Okay.
Because I feel that, you know, the first minute is the worst. You feel like it's cold, but then after a minute or so, I feel like the body's realized that it fell into some kind of a cold stream. You know, the body doesn't really know, so the body thinks I fell into the water, and it starts working. It starts working from the inside and just starts turning on the engines and starts saying, hey, I need to pump some blood in here. I need to get I need to survive, basically. So I feel after a few minutes that it starts kicking in, and then again I start play around with it 3 to 5 minutes. If I go to swim to the lake, you know, I go there for a few minutes. I don't swim around for 20 minutes. You know, I think you could probably do it, but you know, I'm not anybody who's done this for a long time or went off and haven't really look into it. I just like the fact that, you know, even mentally, you know, I just kind of do something that's hard, because then the rest of the day seems easier, you know? Yeah, so mentally I feel that I can, if I can go through this, then nothing can really stop me, and everything else is easier.
I've heard a lot of people actually describe it like that recently, where it's that one thing in the morning that seems really tough, but once it's done, the rest of the day is actually, you know, quite easy in comparison. So I've had a lot of people describe it like that.
So nice. for mental toughness, it's good. There's a lot of little things I started doing, and I think it really helps. Like, for example, making your own bed.
Yes.
You know? Like people try to go and change the world. And I'm slowly changing a lot of people. I'm not gonna lie about that. I've helped people, just kind of put their bug in their head and say, hey, you know what, maybe this is killing your heart a little bit, and don't criticize it. Like, here's a different option. This will be good for you. And people started. I've been people would stop smoking because we just talk about stuff for a couple hours, and when we go in the car or something, and then I realized, it's not about will. It's not about this. You fighting stuff. You need to, as soon as you realize that it's not good for you, like it's actually hurting you. As soon as you really realize it, then you stop smoking. It's like, I know. I'm like, well, that's the worst client, saying, I know this. I know I should stop. Okay. Like Paul Czech says, it's like, if you really knew, you wouldn't be doing it. You just have an idea. You have an idea that it's bad for you.
Yeah.
But if you really truly knew it, like, you know how to brush your teeth because you go and do it every day, right?
Yeah, of course.
You know how to do it. You don't just talk about it, or you say, oh, I know I should brush my teeth. No, you go and do it, so you know how to do it, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. So I just play around with it a little bit, because the psychology is important. So helping the players kind of move forward is what I'm interested in, because it helps me as well. And if I live the lifestyle, if I eat well, if I take care of myself, it's easy for me to, first of all, sell it, and second of all, explain it, because they I just look into my life and say, hey, when I eat this, when I drink 7 coffees a day, this is what happens to me, so I don't really drink much of it. I might have an organic one in the morning, and you can get it here. You can get an organic coffee with some fat, so I don't get this big boost of caffeine, and I'll have that sometimes. But, if you have 7 a day, or I had clients in England, in KISS gyms in England, I had the guy was drinking so much coffee that he had the coffee machine on his table at his work. He moved it there because he didn't have to go, because it took so much time to actually making the coffee and going there. He spent an hour and a half a day just like dealing with coffee. So he just put it on his desk, and he just pressed the button. He could work, because he realized that he was not getting his work done. And I say, well, if you move it on your desk, I mean, that's a sign of a massive, addiction. You're just addicted, man. And people would say, oh, well, I like it for the taste of it. And there's so many antioxidants. Well, there's good stuff in coffee if it's not heavily sprayed, which most cold coffee is. So, if you get some real good coffee, and maybe try to do it, between your meals, like between your breakfast. You don't want to really have too much stimulants and coffee with your meal, which most people drink here. They have coffee with the meal because it's they just like it. But for the digestive system, is not ideal. So I'm saying, hey, enjoy the coffee, but you can do different things. So the coaching from my side has to be very very kind of focused on what I say and how I say it.
Yeah, of course.
And how I can find common ground with people.
Yeah.
Especially with the hockey players. And I think I have with the hockey players because I played hockey, so I can kind of feel, there's a lot of strength and conditioning here, guys, on different teams. They're not even strength and conditioning guys. They're like conditioning trained. They're called conditioning guys. So they just do tabatas, and they just get them out of breath, and they think that's... But you need to have the strength too. So, and they don't understand strength. They don't study strength. They don't do strength. They might do like... They say, well, my off ice is... I can do it on a football field.
Yeah.
The whole off ice, and I'm saying, well, that's not how you train a hockey player. There's no resistance. You might be carrying someone in your back or something, but that's about it. You need to have resistance. So there's coaches like that, and they never played hockey. Which I'm not saying you have to play hockey to be a strength and conditioning guy for a hockey team, but it helps because you can feel how the player feels, and you're not a kickboxer, you're not somebody else. That's a little bit different. So finding people in this industry is good if they study and they try to move on. So there's a lot of players who are thinking about doing what I'm doing actually, because they feel like they want to work hard. They don't have a lot of education. They might have something, but they might not have anything, and they want to study. So they say, hey, how do I say, hey, you can do Paul Czech's Academy. You can do all sorts of strength and conditioning courses. You can do all sorts of stuff. So I've been directing people in certain ways, so they get certified. You need to have certification and insurance to do anything really. I mean that's the right way of doing it. So I try to move people in that direction too, because a lot of people come to me and ask, because it's a booming business, like you were teaching PT courses in India. It's a huge market. It's booming, and they're hungry for it. But it is new. So whatever you teach them, you can make good players, or you can make good trainers, or you can make shitty trainers, depending on what you give them at the beginning.
So you're bringing out a training course in Czech?
Yeah, this is my plan. I am trying to put together a trainer's course, basically, that will certify you from 0 to 100%, and I'm gonna put my twist on it.
Nice.
From my experiences from England, from here, from America. So it will be a little bit unique. And I want to put quality into it, and I want it to, there has to be at least 150 hours of study hours, and so you have to do it over many weekends, and I want to teach it, and at the beginning, and then we'll see how it goes. So that is the plan for the Czech wannabe trainers, and want to do it right. I want to do it how I really think it should be done, not just get the money and give them a weekend certification. So,
of course.
Exactly.
Nice. Just before we round things up, is a question for you. Is there anything that you do currently to improve wellness or health that's unique to yourself that you wouldn't necessarily give an ice hockey team or your clients? Because I know before, me and you have done that joint meditation, Tai Chi session. Remember at the Peace Pagoda in Milton Keynes?
Yes.
We did that whole thing there. I can't imagine you would do something like that with an ice hockey team. Do you have any practices like that?
Well, in the off-ice season, we went a few times, and again, it's we had training every day, and the guys, it was nice out, and the guys were just sore, and I said, this was my first year there, first summer off-ice treatment after about 3 months of work, and I said, let's go out on a football field, and we're just gonna lay down. We're gonna take our shoes off. We're gonna lay down. We're gonna do nothing.
Okay.
Right. And again, if I said let's meditate, people gonna laugh. You're gonna be, in the Western world here, it's not cool if you're young to meditate, really. Like, you have to grow into it, and somebody might not never get into it all their life, so they don't teach it in school. They don't do Tai Chi. Nobody really cares about that too much. It's more about performance. So you lose a little bit of credibility when you say, hey, let's do a meditation, the whole team, so it doesn't work, because there are always going to be a few guys who are going to start laughing, or you're going to make fun of you, and you're just going to stand in the middle of it, and it'll just be a weird experience. You need to sell it in a certain way, and I say, let's go do nothing. There's no phones, there's no girlfriends, there's no dogs, there's no work, there's no bosses, there's no ice, there's nobody. How about this? Nobody wants anything from you. You just lay here and just breathe, because that's all you got to do to survive, really. Yeah. So just do that, and we did that. And again, there was a couple guys who were nervous and who were just kind of shivering around, and they were giggling, and they couldn't relax. And those are the people that need it the most, really. They can't relax. And there's guys who said, "Hey, this was awesome," and they talk about how we could do it, one-on-one somewhere. Okay. Get a few guys. So I tried it on a team setting. It was a complete opposite to what they're used to do every summer, because coach would never come in and say, hey, let's do nothing.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just the opposite. So it was a bit of a shock. So I tried to apply it, and it was good. You have to pick the right time, and you talk to the head coaches about it. If maybe it's the right time. So there's a lot of decisions to be made before that, to fit really. But it turned out well. So I try to use that, and I did it with players one-on-one. Take 3 guys somewhere upstairs where it's nice and relaxing, where you just get away from the ice a little bit and go into some meeting room or something, and we can put some nice music on and chill out and relax. So I do it myself, and I promote it with a team. I really like there's a tub now you can get, you can just lay in it. I think it has salt water in it. It looks like a massive egg. Right. You just lay inside of it. You put the water kind of keeps you. It's a float therapy, like a float tank.
Yeah. Wow.
And you can lay in there, and it has maybe tiny bit of music, or it has no music, and you just put your ears under the water and you just chill there, and you just basically float, and you just don't really hear anything. You might hear something in the background. So that's starting to be very popular.
Okay. Isolation tanks, they're becoming a big-ish thing in the UK. There's one in Milton Keynes, actually. There's a business that's just opened in Milton Keynes that you can book in just for an hour isolation tank.
To relax.
Yeah. You just float. It's soundproof. So I'm going to try it myself. I haven't booked it in yet, but yeah.
Because I believe the future is in that. Future is, because we're so caught up with the phones, and I am on the phone too, and we don't relax. So to turn the mind off is going to be a huge market for somebody who just say, hey, you know what? There's a place you can relax. I mean, people might have to pay for it, or book it, or buy a monthly subscription or something, but just to get away. So I've had clients even in England who are busy, dentist office or something, busy man, owns everything and orders everything and does everything and sees clients, and he wanted to book a session in the studio just to do nothing, just to relax, just to breathe, just to get away. So people need more and more of that, and athletes needs a lot of that. When you use the Epsom sea salts and you do the right setting, that is a great way to. It's really a meditation in water. You just go into yourself a little bit, but then you have problems with those people who don't like themselves. They don't really have the self-love, if I say it that way. They don't really like what's inside, and they don't want to meditate. They have a hard time with that because they start looking into themselves and they don't like what they see.
Yeah. So definitely.
So it's hard, and you need to maybe find a different way of doing it. Those are the people that do need it the most. But you can't really tell them. They don't listen because it's uncomfortable to go inside. That's why a lot of people have background music in the house or background TV always playing, because when it's quiet, you are more likely to go into yourself. This was true with our old next door neighbours who used to play really loud house music all the time. So we could hear it in our house, like it was so loud. And when it wasn't on, they just spent most of the time shouting at each other or shouting at the kids. Like they clearly had this kind of almost deep self-loathing of each other. And this was like exactly what you've just said. It was stereotypical. Play loud music to drown out maybe our own thoughts, our own kind of things that we have inside us. It was horrible. It was, I could feel it through the house. It was horrible. Absolutely horrible. Well, there's different stages to it. I mean, hate is still, you gotta still think about the other person, and there's some passion.
Yeah.
There's some passion and hate. So it's still not as bad as apathy, like when you're raising children and the parents are apathetic, they don't talk and they just live like roommates.
Yeah, you just kind of take it or leave it. It's like, whatever.
Yeah. So obviously love is number one, and hate is still some passion,
Yeah.
It's still your plates are flying, but there's still some energy. I mean, if they didn't care about each other, they wouldn't be doing it. So maybe better communication, but then you have the parents who don't care and they just stay there until the kids are old enough, and they do their own thing. Then they get divorced. So they're waiting for the kids to grow up, which is not right way, in my opinion. It's not right way of doing it, because they teach them how, what the relationship should look like, really.
Yeah.
So if you're roommates, then they're gonna grow up and have a roommate as well, and it's gonna move on and on. So
yeah, of course.
So it's not a solution.
Indeed. Well, so Al, thank you for sharing your insights into the ice hockey world and some nice more deeper things going on, which bodes well, not just for humans in general, but for sport. And I think before I guess we leave, I have looked at your playing career, and I think it's been quite extensive. I know you mentioned playing in Milton Keynes, MK Lightning. I did not know you played for Manchester Phoenix.
I did, yeah.
Wow. So yeah, big shout out to those teams, and obviously the Boston Bruins, Bismarck Bobcats, Chicago Steel, and University of Alaska Anchorage.
That was my trip there.
Yeah, awesome. Love it.
England. My first contract was in Manchester. Yes, I flew to Manchester, lived in Altrincham.
Wow.
And we used to go to the rink, and it was my experience of hockey in England. It was interesting. There was no rink there, actually.
Really?
I showed up and the rink wasn't built.
Oh,
They didn't tell the players. They didn't tell the players because it was supposed to be finished, but it didn't finish. So we used to drive across from Altrincham. We used to drive to Sheffield.
Wow. Okay.
Across the there's like these
the Pennines.
Yeah, it wasn't even the highway. It was going around the sheep and on this little road, and I was in this Renault Clio with 4 other guys, and I was sitting because they were like, Canadian guys are bigger than me, so I was sitting in the back of a Renault Clio, and I couldn't even have my head straight for the trip. I had to have my head crooked a little bit, and I was going to Sheffield, and I saw all these sheep in the mountains, and I was like, what, where am I, what's going on? And we used to go there, and then the players said that they're not going to drive there every day for practice. It's like it's impossible. They just don't want to do it. They get so tired. So we practiced, I think, twice a week, and we played twice a week, and we actually did decently. It was a decent season for the team.
Oh, nice.
So that was my experience with first UK hockey. I was like, wow, this is interesting. I get to see the sheep and sit in the car for three hours a day. It's good.
I can only imagine, because you're what, 6'3", 6'4"?
Yeah.
So I can imagine like you there and guys either side of you who are bigger. I'm just like, wow, okay, that's in a Renault Clio, which if you don't know is a small car.
Exactly. So that's what they gave us.
Brilliant.
They said, hey guys, we're going to practice. We're going to Sheffield.
Wow. Brilliant. So Al, thank you for your time this morning. Really, really appreciate it.
You are welcome.
If people want to kind of I guess, know more or find you or follow you? You know, like social media stalkers. where can they find you?
Well, I am only on Instagram and Facebook.
Fantastic. So, yeah, if you type in Al Parez to Instagram, you'll see. I think on Instagram it's the ice hockey team logo, maybe, or
I have a logo. I have a logo with the 4 doctors. Which is
yes.
Your mind, your food, your rest, and your movement. So on Instagram, it's ALES. That's my first name, and then PAREZ, which sounds Mexican, but it's really stump. It's really stump.
Stumpy.
So you can find me on that. If you are interested in stuff, I'm not a massive poster.
Yes.
So I post once in a while, but I don't spend a lot of time on it. Maybe I should. I know you have to keep up with that a little bit, and I think it's okay. I mainly use it for work purposes. So.
But if you do want to stalk Al, then that's the place to do it.
Okay.
So thank you, Al, for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to the One Zen Fitness Academy podcast. My name's been Kieran. Please share with your friends, leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Thank you for your time.